2006 was a rough year for Sonic. Hot off the heels of Shadow the Hedgehog and start straight into the disaster of Sonic 06. While this was a bad time for the franchise, there was still hope because while everyone may have had strong opinions about Sonic 06, they still bought it. Since it sold well enough, that meant Sega still had a chance to redeem the franchise and pull it out of the hole that it was in at the time. Thus, they decided to do something brand new and different with the Blue Blur. In order to make everyone forget about their previous abomination, they came up with their very own render engine for this game to make it look totally brand new and shiny, and completely different from Sonic 06. Also, it could handle the intense speeds the player had reached in this new style of gameplay. Even Sonic gets an updating look for this outing. Well, I guess that isn't totally true. He has two new looks, one being remembered more fondly than the other. I'm sure anyone who is into Sonic already knows what game I'm talking about. You may be correct, that doesn't make you smart. Yep, it's everyone's favorite game, Sonic World Adventure, or as we normal people call it, Sonic Unleashed. Now for the people not in the know, you may be wondering what I mean by two new looks. Of course, Sonic gets redesigned for this game because of course we wouldn't have him associated with the previous games. But Sonic also got a second design for a brand new style of gameplay in the series. That's right, everyone knows and overly hates him, Sonic the Werehog. So of course, if you're already watching this video, I'm sure you already know this, but we have to talk about the night stages. In these stages, you play as the Werehog. I could go the easy route and just beat down on this gameplay style even more than people already have, but I won't, because I actually enjoy it. Yes, that's right, come on, boo me. This gameplay was obviously made to slow down the game from the fast pace of the boost levels, otherwise the game would be no time at all to complete. But that doesn't mean there wasn't effort and passion put into this gameplay style by the developers. Even just looking at the sheer amount of combos and the details put into the combos, there's obvious effort put in here, even if it wasn't the best attempt. Now, if that was the only thing we were considering, the Werehog gameplay would be fantastic. Now, of course I mentioned that this was made to slow down the gameplay, but even the Werehog could be pretty fast if it weren't for the level design. Within these levels, you're constantly being trapped in areas just to fight bad guys, which isn't terrible for a beat 'em up, but when you don't introduce new enemies, it gets old pretty quick, especially when it's done even more to extend playtime. And while the battle music is fantastic, you're probably only ever going to hear at most the first minute of it, when the track goes on much longer than that. And it starts to become a little bit grating, with the sheer amount of encounters you have in some of these levels. I'd suggest listening to the full track if you enjoy any of the first part. Speaking of the amount of encounters in levels are pretty long even without all the enemies. The final stage of the game, Eggman Land, can easily take like 40 to 50 minutes on a first playthrough, depending on your upgrades. And if you didn't upgrade right, it probably takes even longer. And that's with limited lives, so if you die too many times, you have to restart the stage. That's it. Although they are pretty generous with the lives in this game, so I don't think most people would have any issue with that. While the stages are really long, the combat's actually really good in this game. The flow just feels right. The combat itself takes the form of most hack and slash games in being that you have a block, a heavy attack, light attack, and then a gauge to power yourself up, in this case being the Unleashed meter. And of course you want to combine all of these things together to get more points in the stage to get a better rank. But of course, this is the era of QuickTime events in video games. And through Sonic's rebranding, he caught some of those QuickTime events all throughout the game. And for the Werehog, they took the form of finishers for basic enemies and then events during boss battles. I do draw issue with the finishers though, because they give you so many points that you basically have to get them to do the S rank, which takes away all of the skill of combat or the fun of it, because the finishers become available at about 50% health. And just as the cherry on top, if you fail a finisher, not only does the enemy gain health, but you take damage. Overall, it just takes away reasons to engage with the mechanics of the game. Now, the events during boss battles are pretty okay. I actually quite like them because they have nice animations and it makes the bosses unique, rather than just punching them over and over and over. I actually really enjoyed the bosses of the Werehog as they're much slower, so the devs were able to do so much more with them, barring a few fights, but they are certainly better than what they did with the Hedgehog ones. And as you defeat bosses and enemies, you gain experience in this game, which is technically not a first for the Sonic series, as Sonic Chronicles exist, but outside of an RPG, this is the first. You can use these to unlock new combos, give yourself more health, and even the Hedgehog got some upgrades as well in speed and the boost gauge. But most of your experience is going to go into the Werehog, because there is a lot to upgrade there, and they take forever. Now I know all of this may sound like a game on its own, but we have a whole nother side to the gameplay, that being the day stages, which everyone absolutely loves. But before that, I want to talk about how you get to different stages, and that brings me to the hub world. Sonic Unleashed has similar hub worlds to Sonic Adventure, except extremely simplified so you don't get lost trying to find stages. Every hub is divided into two areas, one that holds all the stages and some mini challenges, and another with all of your people and shops and things you can do and interact with. It's actually quite nice because it makes it feel like a living, breathing world, because you can see how the events going around them affect the people of the world, and you actually even get side quests in this game from these same people. And of course there are optional stages, optional missions, and all kinds of secrets you can find throughout the world. Although one thing that you have to find are sun and moon medals. Now the reason you have to find these is because you have to have a certain amount to enter each stage. This can lead to a lot of backtracking. It helps having the DLC so you have a few extra medals in the game, but even then it can be tough sometimes, especially on a first playthrough. Especially when you have to scour across so many different stages to try and find them, and playing the Werehog stages takes so long you just dread doing it. It also creates some heartbreaking moments as there's plenty of other collectibles in the game, so you think you found an area for a sun or moon medal, and then it's just a videotape. It's quite disappointing, especially when you're just trying to move to the next stage. Speaking of stages, let's get into the day stages. Now the day stages mark a first for the Sonic series, as it's the first time the boost style would be done in 3D. The way the boost style works is, at the bottom of the screen you have a boost gauge that you can fill up by collecting rings and destroying enemies, which will let you go at blinding speeds across the stage. Of course, this isn't the only move Sonic has, as that'd be boring. His moveset also includes a drift to go around corners going at those speeds, and a homing attack once again, and then a sidestep for certain sections where you're running down straightaways and dodging enemies and projectiles and whatever else they throw your way. Though for all of this, Sonic did have to lose his spin dash. And of course, Sonic does have some upgrades in this game, like the light speed dash, ground pound, and even an air dash. These are all pretty self-explanatory or returning, except for the air dash, which just lets you boost in the air, which is also very inconvenient because homing attack is mapped to the same button. So if you're not targeted onto an enemy, you'll just go flying away. Or if you want to go flying away, you're going to go to the enemy instead because it targeted last second. While being at high speeds, Sonic controls very well. It's when he's at low speeds where I find his controls are a bit slippery, though I can kind of excuse this as it doesn't happen very often, except for platforming segments. It can lead to an unfair death every now and then, but nothing too aggravating or that you can't get used to. I can confidently say I enjoyed just about every day stage in this game. They were designed very well, and I can't imagine the amount of work that went into making a stage so long going at such high speeds. And the music for these stages, as always, top tier. Though blasting through these stages, you actually tend to miss the details of them, and some of them are absolutely beautiful, honestly. The same goes for the music, as you actually get an effect while you're boosting where it sounds like the music's far away, which is a neat detail, but also a little bit annoying if you're boosting constantly. Where the day stages fail are on their bosses. Most of them just come down to boosting ahead so you can hit the boss as fast as you can, which is kinda nice because you can beat them fast, so it's not horrible. except for the ones that have 2D sections, because they're all scripted, so you can't really do much about them. They're all pretty forgettable as well, and some of them are almost the same. There is one other boss you get to play, but it's as Day Sonic and Super Sonic, and it's the final boss of the game. After learning Chip is like Gaia, you both go to defeat Dark Gaia together. And that of course means going through Eggman Land, the dreaded Eggman Land, which I'm not going to talk about. But it does lead to back-to-back boss fights, which is pretty awesome. Kind of. The Egg Dragoon fight, incredible. You get to do it as the Werehog, absolutely love it. It's why it kept getting brought back. But the Dark Gaia fight is kinda where the game fails us. When we go to confront Dark Gaia, Chip brings all of the Gaia temples together from around the world to make a giant mech. Now, this sounds cool until you realize that the mech goes at a snail's pace. And to beat Dark Gaia, you have to charge at him while he throws rocks at you, and you have to either punch or dodge the rocks. And if you don't, you take damage and you slow down. This makes the boss take so long, and the timings are so weird. Hitboxes, jank. The coolest part about it is once you reach Dark Gaia, Sonic runs up the arms to attack his eyes, which is, I think, a pretty interesting concept and quite cool. Eventually, Dark Gaia will awaken to perfect Dark Gaia. And this is where you get to play as Super Sonic. Always one of the best boss fights in a Sonic game. Well, not this time. This time you get to fly in a straight line. Then you get to fly around a dome, taking out tentacles, and not even actually fighting the boss. It's so great. The best thing about the fight is the music. I just love the music, as always. A banger. You also do not get unlockable Super Sonic after this, so you cannot play as him during stages. It's a sad send-off for sure, but the last cutscene gets even more sad, and I won't spoil it. And with that, we've reached the end of the game. People like to split this game up into 2 parts because they prefer the day stages, but I just can't see it that way. While I may enjoy the day stages more than the night stages, I still enjoy them. It was a great attempt at a Sonic hack and slash, and there's definitely more potential that could be there, and I would not be bothered if they tried it again. And the final stage, Eggman Land, where you get to play both playstyles, is great, other than it being far, far too long. I think there should have been a few more stages like this in the game. It would have been so much cooler, combining these different things and seeing how you can get through different stages and make so many more unique things. It would have also helped to meld the gameplay styles together so people don't see them as 2 separate things, and that the Werehog and the Hedgehog aren't 2 different characters, they're just one. While this isn't the best Sonic game, it is certainly up there on the list. It has enough to keep its own unique identity among the series, even though it is one of the boost games, and a lot of those tend to meld together. It makes the game worth a try. Though if you don't want to try it and you still want to play the day stages, I would recommend the Unleashed project for Sonic Generations if you have a PC capable of playing it. It's a project that imports all of the day stages from Sonic Unleashed so everyone can enjoy them. And with that, we've hit the end of the video. So remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitch at PeterCorb and Twitter. And I will see you all next time.